All right, so starting off my 10 worst movies of this decade so far. This one just came out last year. Definitely, a lot of people really did not like this movie. So I'm not I'm in the majority I think on this one. But number 10 is Joker, Folie à Deux. This is the sequel to the very popular movie Joker, which made like $1 billion in the movie theater. It was like one of the biggest rated R, maybe the biggest rated R box office movie. And so this was very highly anticipated, this Joker movie. And when the trailer came out, it was that kind of cool trailer. And I was even kind of excited, even though I wasn't like the biggest fan of the Joker. But I love musicals, and then when I found out like, oh, this is like a musical, and he's like in prison, and we got Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn. I thought that was a good casting, and she can sing, so I was like, okay, I can see some pretty cool, like it looks like some fantasy moments where the music's happening like in their head, not happening in real life. And I thought the whole movie was gonna be okay. He meets Harley Quinn, falls in love or something, and then they figure a way to kind of rule the prison and eventually break out at the end or something like that. And that will be a good cliffhanger for a third movie or something. We did not get that in this movie. This is one of the worst musical, maybe the worst musical I've ever seen in my life. The singing, the music itself was just horrible. The song choices were horrible. A lot of them were like these very oldies sounding songs, like from the 1930s or 40s or something like that. Like I don't understand where they came up with this idea. In fact, some of them I know one song he keeps singing is like a cover song that from a long time ago, and it's not that great of a song or that interesting. And most of the movie, Joaquin Phoenix is Arthur Fleck. He's not the Joker. There's only like one scene where he puts a Joker makeup on and he kind of acts like the Joker, but most of it is just this loser, this super skinny, just gaunt loser of a guy living in prison and not doing much and not that interesting of a character, except he kind of falls in love with Harley Quinn and he has these fantasy moments in his head, I guess you could say, that go throughout the movie. And there are moments where he's singing, and I'm like, is this happening in real life? Because why? It's so weird because he's being interviewed at one point and he starts singing the song, and I'm like, is he really singing or is this in his head? I'm thinking he's really singing. And it's so stupid. Like, why would he be singing at this moment in an interview? And when everybody be like, what is going on? This is so stupid. I don't know. It's weird. Some weird choices there. And yeah, this movie really goes nowhere. It's just a very boring, non-eventful movie for a sequel to a huge movie. This should have been much bigger. I think the musical numbers, the he should have been more like the Joker throughout the movie. And the ending is just so terrible. I can't even say what happens in the ending, but it is such a horrible ending that you just go, what was the point? What was the point of it? So yeah, Joker, Folie à Deux at number 10 on my list. Number 9, I have probably the most confusing movie I've ever tried to watch, and that is Tenet. By Christopher Nolan, who's really good at making confusing movies that I don't understand, or he makes a lot of very boring movies I don't understand. This one, Tenet, is the most confusing movie I've ever tried to watch. I couldn't tell you what the plot is. I don't know what was going on. Like 5 minutes of the movie, I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. I was like so confused 5 minutes in, and it never got better. I never understood anything. I was like, okay, there's this main character, and what is he doing? Is he part of the SWAT team? What is this SWAT team that's coming into this place? And nothing's ever explained. And then there's some, I don't know, what do you want to call it, supernatural element of like stuff going backwards, but it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. None of it made any freaking sense. I absolutely hated it because of that, and I could never try watching it again. I even heard people say they watch videos trying to explain how it works, and they still couldn't get it, and I don't think I could either. It's like I would give anybody $1,000,000 so they can make me understand this movie. I don't think you could. It's that far off anyway. So yeah, number 9, Tenet. Number 8, we got a movie called Tar. This movie came out a couple of years ago. Cate Blanchett was playing the main character Tar, And Cate Blanchett was very praised. This was nominated for Best Picture. She was praised for her performance and won like a Golden Globe or something like that. And many thought she should win an Oscar for her role. This was so boring. It is mind-numbing boring, and I'm gonna say that a lot in this video. There's so many boring movies on my list, but I had to put it on here just because, like, it starts off. She's like a music conductor, and it starts off with this 10-minute interview she's having with somebody about music conducting or something like that, and she's talking about like the philosophy of conducting music, and it was such a boring. That's such a boring way to start the movie on this very boring interview about music, which I know nothing about or don't care about. I love orchestra music. I love the sound of it, but I don't care about someone explaining the details of how it works. It just doesn't do anything for me. Now, maybe if I was a music conductor, I'd probably find that interesting. I don't know, but I was just like, okay, like, is this going anywhere? Like, I'm like, is this interview? How long is this interview taking? It was so long at the beginning. It really just started off so boring, and it started that way. The whole movie was just one long, boring conversation after another, and it never got exciting, never got interesting. And I was so tuned out, I didn't even really understand what happened. I had to Google what happened. Like, what happened in this movie? I just couldn't pay attention. It was too boring. So that's why it's here at number 8, Tar. Number 7, movie that came out the same year as Tar, and again was nominated for Best Picture. And it was so terrible. It's called Triangle of Sadness. It was such a movie that, like, only because it got nominated Best Picture did I watch it, and only that's the only reason why it even has any notability. It's like it was a nothing movie that I doubt anybody saw. I don't know if it came out in theaters around here. When I say around here, I mean in the state of Kansas. But it was such a. I bet, yeah, like I said, it made no money. I don't understand how this got nominated for Best Picture. It was so terrible. And again, Tar was so terrible. I thought you couldn't beat Tar, but this beat it. It starts off with this really terrible beginning of this good-looking couple, young couple, who are fighting over who pays the check. They're at a restaurant, and then they're fighting about who gets to pay the check or something like that. And that goes on forever. It's a stupid conversation. Of course, the guy always pays the check. The fact that this guy is arguing whether he should pay for the meal is so stupid and toxic. And I'm like, and this has nothing to do with the plot of the movie. It's just this beginning part. I'm like, isn't this movie about being on like a yacht that goes that gets capsized and people are stranded on an island? That's the whole plot of the movie. But you get this really long intro that has nothing to do with it. It was weird. And then they get into, they're on the boat, and they're just one couple amongst other people that are on this, rich people that are on this, like, cruise. I say yacht, like this cruise, whatever. Anyways, and they do crash kind of, or they actually get attacked by some pirates or something like that. And some of the survivors, get on an island. And there's almost an interesting idea there where this one girl who's like a help staff, she actually knows how to fish and how to get food and stuff like that. She actually kind of goes from being the lowest on the cruise to being the leader because she's the only one that knows how to get food. And because of that, everybody has to like do what she says. And she kind of gets a little maniacal with the power that she gets because she's never had that kind of power in her life, to the point where she doesn't want to get off the island because she likes having all this power over these people that used to boss her around. That's actually an interesting idea. But it really goes nowhere at the end. And again, it's a pretty boring movie. There's a lot of, again, boring conversations that are about nothing that go nowhere. I just think there's, again, just like Tar, what's with these movies, all these boring conversations? It's just, I don't get it. It has nothing really to do with anything. A couple of really terrible things. One, there's this whole scene where everybody gets sick of the food. The food goes bad. They have this big dinner. The food goes bad. They all get sick. And there's a scene where they're all throwing up and having diarrhea. It is one of the grossest scenes I've ever seen in a movie, and very unpleasant. I hate throw-ups. I hate diarrhea. I deal with it all the time at work, work in healthcare. And was really a very unpleasant scene that I did not need in a movie. It really turned me off, that scene. And then also the ending was just one of the worst endings I've ever seen, just because there is no ending. There is no ending to this movie. We have no idea what happens to these characters. It's so weird. There's this kind of part where it looks like maybe they'll get rescued, but we don't see them get rescued. And we see this one character running through the jungle, and then the movie ends. Seriously, like all you get is this person running through the jungle, and you're like, "Why? Why is that person running? Where are they going? What happened?" We get no explanation. How can you end a movie without any kind of conclusion to the story? It makes the whole movie pointless if you don't have a conclusion. That's the whole point of watching a movie. You need an end, you need a conclusion. This provides none of that. That's why it had to be in my top 10 worst movies. I've never seen a movie that, even a bad movie sometimes, like even Tar or Tenet or Joker has kind of an ending that concludes the story and you go, okay, it's terrible, but at least I have a conclusion. This has no ending conclusion to it. It's insane. It's the worst writing. They must teach you that in writing 101. Have an ending, have a concluding part of the story that makes you feel somewhat satisfied. I just cannot believe they did that. But anyways, Triangle of Sadness here at number 7. Number 6, this might make some people mad because people love this movie, and that is The Zone of Interest. In fact, I know Elliot from IMO Reviews. I hope he's not watching this because I know he loves this movie. It's one of his favorite movies of like a year ago or so. It is, again, one of the most boring movies I've tried to watch. Nominated for Best Picture, it won like 3 or so Oscars. And the whole movie, of course, the interesting part of it is that it's this family, and the guy, the dad, is part of the Nazi party, and they're living right next to a concentration camp. So the whole idea is like, how does this family just live a normal life when all these atrocities are happening, not too far from them? And I guess that's kind of the thought-provoking idea, which is like, okay, that's interesting, I guess. But the movie is just them doing chores around the house and tending a garden. And of course, it's foreign film, so it's all like in German, which I'm not a big fan of having to read subtitles. So that always, unless it's an action movie that's exciting, I have a hard time with having to read subtitles. But man, this movie is so slow moving. It feels like nothing happens throughout the movie. Again, it's a lot of boring conversations. Again, a lot of scenes where nothing is happening. They're just doing chores. I don't need to watch a movie where people are doing chores. I do chores myself. I can put my camera and you can watch me do chores. How does that make a good movie? I don't understand. And the ending was so confusing. I didn't quite get what was going on at the ending with this. I had to Google like what happened. I don't know. Again, I didn't feel like there was much of a conclusion to the story, and it was 100% one of the most boring movies I've had to watch or try to sit through. It was so hard to get through. So that's why it's here at number 6, The Zone of Interest.